Coming up in the Bahamas tonight, the double remedy the Rand Memorial Hospital commissioning will present for Grand Bahama. Why Prime Minister Ingram is blaming the Christie administration for failings at Kerner. And meet a Bahamian centenarian and hear his story of longevity. All those stories and more straight ahead in the Bahamas tonight.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news tonight, the new and improved Rand Memorial Hospital in Grand Bahama was officially commissioned today. The new operating theaters and an urgent care center are, according to Prime Minister Hubert Ingram, part of his government's 10-year plan for the national health sector and present new employment opportunities for Grand Bahamians. Sabrina Brown has more in this report.
The $8 million expansion and upgrade is the largest capital investment at the Rand Memorial Hospital in its 41-year history. 2 state-of-the-art high-tech operating theaters, 1 surgical day unit for minor procedures, and a modern accident and emergency and urgent care center pushes the Rand Hospital into the 21st century. According to the Minister of Health, Dr. Hubert Minnis, the new theaters are superior to those in New Providence, the Caribbean, and even some in the United States. He says this major undertaking is part of the government's mandate to provide first-class medical care to Bahamians.
Historical records and my personal experience as a physician show that many lives are impacted by severe trauma and are recoverable. The degree to which this is possible is very much dependent on 3 things: timeliness of medical intervention, the availability of appropriately skilled medical professionals, and the quality of critical care facilities.
Prime Minister the Right Honourable Hubert Ingram says the redevelopment plan was initiated during his government's 2nd term in office. He says while many were calling for the construction of a new hospital, in 1999 the Dorset report recommended that the Rand Memorial Hospital be redeveloped.
Minding our purse and the sound advice proffered to us in the Dorset report, we took into account the advantages to be gained from the redevelopment of the present site, notably the continuity of service and significant savings in capital costs when compared to a one-time replacement building on a grain site.
Now that the critical care units have been brought online with international standards, the nation's leader says there are plans for further expansion to meet the growing needs on the island.
This would form a hub for the development of other outpatients and diagnostic and treatment departments, followed by the renovations to the vacated areas, which would in turn increase the pediatrics area and surgical and medical beds that are available. And we expect, therefore, that when the price becomes right, that we will buy the Freeport Inn or the Island Palm and demolish it and create the additional space that you need here on the site.
According to Prime Minister Ingram, plans are also in the pipeline to construct a community health center on Grand Bahama. The Prime Minister says the expansion is also providing employment opportunities. He says some 69 Bahamians have been recruited for the Rand through the government work program.
31 are going to be deployed, I'm told, to the Accident and Emergency Urgent Care Center and the operating theaters as trainee technicians. In fact, those who are engaged at the Rand Memorial Hospital, if they do well, are likely to be permanently engaged at the place in the future.
The nation's chief says the redevelopment generated much-needed economic activity on Grand Bahama, which provided opportunities for Bahamian contractors, among other spin-off opportunities. Sabrina Brown, ZNS News.
Guyana and Jamaica have done it, and now the Prime Minister is inviting international observers to monitor the upcoming general elections here. In this report, hear what the Prime Minister had to say about that decision and about the launch of absentee voting in the Bahamas. Here's Altovise Munnings.
Election observation is a method by which the transparency of an election can be ensured. Neutral, independent, and conscientious observation of the electoral process can also help ensure the credibility and impartiality of all elections. Election observation is not concerned with any particular election result, but is concerned with electoral outcomes only to the degree that they are reported honestly and accurately. And now, for the first time in the Bahamas, an invitation is extended to international election observers for the 2012 general elections.
Where is the OAS? Where is the United States of America? Where is the UN? Whoever monitors election, the Jimmy Carter group, whoever monitors the elections in the world. If they want to come to the Bahamas to see how the election is done, they can come, because we're going to have an open and a fair and transparent process. And so we are taking time to make sure that the election procedures and things that need to be done are done prior to calling an election.
So far, 143,000 residents have registered to vote. And whenever the election date is announced, the Prime Minister will make sure that everyone is ready.
It is unthinkable, as happened the last time, for the Parliamentary Commissioner to hear the House Assembly dissolved by an announcement on the radio. The first thing the Prime Minister does is to find out how are we with respect to the preparation for the election. What else do you need to do, etc., etc. Once we are satisfied all those things are done, then we fix dates. We don't fix dates because we wake up one morning and say, let's go.
The Parliamentary Commissioner recently addressed the issue of overseas voters, saying many students and others abroad registered during the holidays. Well, here's what the Prime Minister said about the matter on Wednesday.
We would have been to Miami, and Miami would have had representatives from Atlanta, Washington, and New York, so that the Parliamentary Commissioner could have explained to all of them how it's done. We will then be going to Canada, and I think that London has already been done. I'm not sure. We have to make a little tweak in our law to accommodate the situation with students in Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad, because the way we wrote the law, it only permits it to happen at a place where we have a mission, and we don't have a mission in any of those places, and so we have to tweak the law to be able to accommodate it.
Prime Minister Ingram quoted a recent report of a Jamaican national possessing a passport and voter's card and anticipating charges to be filed against that individual soon. In the meantime, the Prime Minister is again encouraging all qualified citizens to register to vote at their earliest opportunity. Altafiz Munnings, ZNS News.
Talks are underway to score a new deal to rescue the financially challenged Kerner International Resort. Tonight, both Prime Minister Ingram and Atlantis CEO George Markantonis are speaking out on the future of the resort and its 8,000 employees. This after it was revealed yesterday that Brookfield will no longer be acquiring the property. Tonight, hear the latest on the predicament and why the Christie administration is being blamed for failings at Kerner. Shanique Miller reports.
Fears that Kerner's Atlantis and Ocean Club properties will go into foreclosure, putting some 8,000 jobs in jeopardy, is unlikely. Company President George Markantonis is quoted as saying, "This situation does not affect operations of the resort. It's really a matter between the lenders." In fact, Markantonis says no one at Atlantis is going to lose their job as a result of this transaction. He continues, "We are a busy resort, looking after our guests, maximizing our returns, and taking care of our affairs both locally and internationally." Since the announcement, many have predicted the resort's demise, not to mention the employment future of thousands of Bahamians. In a press release last night, PLP leader Perry Christie noted his party's concern over the deal for some time. He laid the blame squarely on the shoulders of the Ingram administration. Christie said the Prime Minister and the government have shown extraordinary incompetence when it comes to dealing with our nation's largest private employer. Mr. Christie added the PLP is willing to assist the F&M going forward. The Bahamas must now reach out to all creditors, assist in new negotiations, and work with all stakeholders to preserve the operations of the resort, protect Bahamian employment, and avoid foreclosure or insolvency. But Prime Minister Ingram says the PLP ought not be too quick to speak out, as the quandary Atlantis finds itself in is all the PLP is doing.
When I came to office in 1992, Resorts International on Paradise Island was in bankruptcy. We didn't panic in the Bahamas at that time. When Kerner came in, he bought it out of bankruptcy, meaning that they couldn't pay all of their debts, and they went in bankruptcy. Kerner International now has a loan for $2.3 billion. And the security for the loan is the properties on Paradise Island. Much of the loan money was spent outside the Bahamas. It was inappropriate and wrong for the government of the Bahamas to agree for the properties on Paradise Island to be put up as a security for a loan where the proceeds of the loan were going to be spent outside the Bahamas. That was a big, big mistake.
On Tuesday, the news broke that the Brookfield agreement had been cancelled, apparently due to a standoff between Brookfield and 6 other lenders. But did incompetence on the government's part bring this result? Mr. Ingram said nothing could be further from the truth.
Brookfield was able to get the support of 4 of the remaining 6 lenders for the activities which it wanted to undertake. 2 of the lenders, who are owed $112 million out of $2.3 billion, went to court in Delaware and argued that Brookfield was getting an advantage vis-a-vis them. Brookfield was confident that it would win the case and proceeded accordingly. When Brookfield got the decision on Friday night or Saturday morning that the judge was going to put a restraining order, meaning that it could not proceed, is when they determined they were not going to proceed like that anymore. The government of the Bahamas did not have any opportunity to approve Brookfield to buy Kerner's interest or to have it transferred to them. Brookfield only put in an application to the government on Friday past, and before the end of the day on Friday, they advised my office not to proceed with considering the application. So all of the talk about what agreement has been done, what approvals have been done, are all nonsense.
Like Marcintonis, the Prime Minister wants the resort's employees assured that their employment is not in jeopardy.
At the moment, the property is still owned by Kerner. Kerner is still managing the property. There's been no change. No jobs are being lost. Atlantis is having a far better season now than it had last year. Its bookings going forward are very good for the year. There's no need for any concern at the moment. The lenders themselves would like to collect their money back. In order to collect their money back, it is important for Kerner's property on Paradise Island to be successful. It is not in the lender's interest for it not to be successful.
We contacted Brookfield Senior Vice President of Communications and Media, Andre Willis, today for comment. However, he told us that Brookfield is not responding to the story at this time. Now, Prime Minister Ingram says he has been in touch with the relevant people involved in this deal. He expects a decision will be reached in another day or so. Shanique Miller, ZNS News.
Well, significant progress has been made in those talks between the government and the Trade Union Congress held today. Minister of Labor Dion Fowkes has signed off on strike votes for 2 unions, but he remains optimistic that both sides will reach an agreement without industrial action. Clint Watson has the story.
I believe all of the issues, especially those involving customs and immigration, that all of those issues can be solved.
After spending the day in meetings with unions, Labor and Social Development Minister Dion Fowkes is pleased with the progress, even if it meant making some difficult decisions. In fact, he's optimistic that all discussions will be in the best interest of the Bahamas. Having said that, he announced that after much lobbying by the Customs and Immigration Union, he has certified their strike vote.
I'm going to have a meeting with the Customs and Immigration Union next week, Wednesday, at 2 p.m. Here at the Ministry of Labor, and also with the senior officers of both Customs and the Immigration Department to address the issues involving their dispute. I am hopeful that the leadership in the union will not take any action until I have an opportunity to meet with them and to have their matters thoroughly discussed and addressed.
Minister Folks also confirmed that he has also certified a strike vote for employees at CIBC First Caribbean International Bank through the Bahamas Financial Services Union.
The union decided to take the matter to the Supreme Court. So the same issues that were involved with the trade dispute became the subject of a writ that was filed in the Supreme Court. My understanding is that a ruling is about to be made with respect to that matter. And I sought advice from the Attorney General's office, and I was advised by the Attorney General's office to confirm and to certify the strike vote, which was taken several months ago.
The Hotel Maintenance Union, representing Sandals employees, also met for 3 hours with the minister regarding their negotiations. The minister says they made some progress as well, although they have adjourned until the 7th of February. Now, regarding the Air Traffic Controllers Union, they appear to be working through their differences quite well with their minister. Now, though the government has granted a strike vote for those unions, it is the intention of the government to bring both parties back to the table to come to an amicable solution. Clint Watson, ZNS News.
What's burning at Black Bear's Key? The answer is right after the break.